Yes, my friends, things are heating up behind the scenes at the Philadelphia Eagles, and I have some important points to discuss with you before 2026 arrives. You know that fans have approved of Howie's work, and I also know that others are not satisfied. I want to know from you, what grade would you give our general manager, Howie Roseman? From 0 to 10, write it below. Man, in my opinion, Howie has been fundamental to the Eagles' success. Before him, things weren't good, and you must remember that. But now, we need to talk about something else. Before we begin, make sure you've already hit the like button if you're a passionate Eagles fan. So here's the thing. Nick Sirianni may not have said it in plain words, but the writing's on the wall. Week 18 will likely see the Philadelphia Eagles roll out backups against the Washington Commanders, and that single decision may define their entire postseason journey. After days of speculation and debate around the league, Sirianni's trademark long-winded press conference offered enough breadcrumbs to piece together the plan. Rest the starters, take the calculated risk, and trust that a healthy roster outweighs a secured number 2 seed. Let's be real. This move speaks volumes about how Sirianni views this team, this playoff picture, and the lessons from past seasons. If you listened closely, you could hear him cite previous seasons: the 2021 rest and crash approach, the 2022 grind for the bye strategy, and the 2023 balance of limited starter reps with a focus on playoff freshness. He's been on both sides of the fence, but this year, with the top seed out of reach and nothing fully locked in, he's opting for health above all. And that's not a small decision. A win this Sunday, paired with a Bears loss to the Lions, gives the Eagles the no. 2 seed and a home game against the injury-depleted Green Bay Packers. Statistically, one of Vic Fangio's most favorable matchups in recent years. But resting players means banking on Tanner McKee and other backups to outduel a Commanders team that has nothing to lose. Plus, you're also trusting the Lions to take care of business themselves. Now, if Philadelphia loses and the Bears somehow pull off the upset, that potential number 2 seed is gone. You're facing either the Rams or, in a worst-case scenario, the 49ers in the first round. 2 teams with vastly different ceilings, but neither one you want on your radar this early in the playoffs. It's the classic gamble between momentum and health. And that leads to one of the more intriguing developments this week, the return of Jalen Carter. Fresh off shoulder surgery, the former first-round pick looked like a force of nature in his comeback game against Buffalo. He dominated inside and confirmed what many had hoped, that he's ready to anchor a playoff-caliber defense down the stretch. Vic Fangio himself admitted he had no idea what to expect from Carter before Sunday. The result? 7 total pressures, a handful of game-altering plays, and perhaps the most dominant interior performance we've seen from him all season. Jalen Carter wasn't the only young gun shining on defense. Rookie linebacker Jihad Campbell took full advantage of increased snaps in the absence of Nakobe Dean, delivering a stat sheet filled with production. 7 tackles, a fumble recovery, and PFF's highest defensive grade on the team. Fangio praised him afterward. Cautiously, yes. But there's no mistaking his value heading into January. Whether Dean returns or not, Campbell's earned a seat at the table when the Eagles' postseason lineup is finalized. Defensively, the Birds are heating up at the right time. Since the bye, this unit ranks second in the NFL in EPA per drive, and they showed their teeth in the second half against Buffalo. While the rest of the NFC playoff field features banged-up or inconsistent defenses, Seattle, San Francisco, Dallas, Philadelphia's defense has found an identity. It's fast, physical, and opportunistic. Yet on the offensive side of the ball, the situation is a lot murkier. The first half against Buffalo was nearly flawless, efficient, creative, and aggressive. The second half? A complete implosion. And that brings us to the most frustrating aspect of this Eagles team: inconsistency. Kevin Patullo's offense reverted to its worst habits: predictable hitch routes, poor first-down play calls, and little to no adjustment when things started to stall. 4 drives in a row ended with back-to-back runs and third-and-longs. Patullo admitted in his press conference that inefficient early downs killed their momentum, but his response wasn't exactly inspiring. This is where fans are justified in their concerns. You're heading into the playoffs not knowing which version of the Eagles' offense will show up, Jekyll or Hyde. The offensive line struggled in pass protection, the receivers struggled to get open, and in some moments, the play calling seemed completely disconnected from what had worked earlier in the game. And yet, despite the outcry, blaming Jalen Hurts for the second-half collapse is just plain lazy. An in-depth film breakdown from analyst MJ revealed that nearly all of Hurts' 7 incompletions in the second half were the result of bad protection, no separation, or flat-out drops. One example? A third-down laser to Devonta Smith that went right through his hands with the game hanging in the balance. Another? Tyler Steen getting bull-rushed directly into Fred Johnson, creating a free path to Hurts and forcing a throwaway. Hurts didn't play a perfect game, but he wasn't the reason they couldn't move the chains. And with A.J. Brown back and fully healthy, the hope is that Philadelphia can lean into its offensive stars when the playoffs begin. But to do that, they've got to first survive Week 18. And that's where this whole decision comes full circle. Tanner McKee might be able to win this game, but if he doesn't, and if the Lions don't pull off their win, then it's possible Philadelphia just gave up their best path through the postseason. One more wrinkle to all of this, the bizarre release of Charlie Hughlett, the team's only active long snapper. That move flew under the radar, but might end up being significant. Hughlett had been nearly flawless when healthy, and even handled conditions in Buffalo without issue. Releasing him days before the regular season finale is strange timing. Will they re-sign him? Add someone else? It's a story worth tracking as the playoffs approach, because special teams miscues in the postseason are game changers. And speaking of changes, there's zero expectation that Philadelphia will even consider free agent cornerback Trevon Diggs, despite the noise online. Released unexpectedly by Dallas, Diggs' season was riddled with inconsistency and some locker room concerns. This isn't like the Darius Slay situation, where the Eagles submitted a waiver claim on a former team captain. Diggs doesn't fit this locker room, and even with some shaky cornerback play, the Eagles appear to be rolling with Adoree Jackson down the stretch. So now it all comes down to one final gamble. Rest the starters, keep them healthy, and hope the backups handle their business. The upside? A healthier team, maybe even a rested Jalen Hurts with a better A.J. Brown, and a dominant Jalen Carter leading the charge. The risk? Losing to the Commanders and watching that number 2 seed disappear, with tougher opponents and more road games ahead. What do you think, Eagles fans? Was resting the starters the right call? Or are we setting ourselves up for another early playoff flameout? And while the coaching staff might say this decision was all about data, player health, and long-term strategy, it's hard not to view it through the lens of recent history. This franchise has lived both sides of this coin. Play your stars and risk injury, or sit them and risk rust or momentum loss. The 2021 team sat its starters and looked completely flat against the Buccaneers in the wild-card round. In 2022, they played to win Week 18, secured the bye, and rode that momentum all the way to the Super Bowl. This year, no bye available, and yet the risk of missing the number 2 seed hangs heavily over this decision. And let's not sugarcoat it. The Commanders may be a subpar team with nothing to play for, but that makes them dangerous. They're a team with players fighting for their next contract or to stay in the league. Facing them with backups like Tanner McKee, who's never started an NFL game, is no lock. He's impressed in practice, sure. He had solid moments in preseason. But asking him to run the offense, protect the football, and execute a game plan under real pressure, that's a tall ask. And if McKee doesn't deliver, and the Commanders pull off the upset, what does that mean for the locker room? You can tell players to trust the process all you want, but football is emotional. And it's hard to imagine veterans like Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, or even Jalen Hurts himself, watching from the sideline as their chance for a more favorable playoff path slips away and feeling 100% confident this was the right call. These are proud competitors. They're wired to win every week. What adds to the tension is just how volatile the NFC picture is right now. The 49ers and Rams present entirely different challenges. The Niners, even with their flaws, are stacked, physical, and capable of dominating up front. The Rams? They've got flaws, yes, but Stafford, McVay, and a reinvigorated Cooper Kupp have shown they can explode at any time. So why not take every opportunity to guarantee your easiest possible path? On the flip side, the only real justification that carries weight is health. We all remember A.J. Brown going down in Week 18 last year. That knee injury robbed the Eagles of their most dynamic offensive weapon in the wild card round. Without him, the offense sputtered, and the Bucs dominated. Sirianni clearly hasn't forgotten. Neither has Howie Roseman. That memory looms large here. And speaking of health, Jalen Carter's return is turning into one of the biggest blessings of the season. Not only did he look explosive against the Bills, but he also confirmed what we'd hoped post-surgery. His shoulder is back, and he's ready to lead the defensive front through the playoffs. Carter's dominance on tape is evident. He's drawing double teams, shedding blocks, and collapsing the pocket like a seasoned vet. That's a huge weapon heading into January. So is Jihad Campbell. Watching the rookie linebacker step into Nakobe Dean's role and not just survive, but thrive, was a massive development. His instincts, range, and tackling were all on display against Buffalo. He looked like a natural fit in Fangio's scheme. That's another reason to rest starters. It's not just about protecting stars. It's also about giving emerging players like Campbell more snaps to prepare for the real pressure. But still, we come back to the offense. It's hard to trust it right now. Too often this year, we've seen two completely different teams take the field within the same game. First half Eagles, explosive, balanced, creative. Second half Eagles, conservative, predictable, disjointed. The Bills game was just the latest case. They were slicing through Buffalo's defense early on and then fell back into the same old habits. Hitch routes, runs into stacked boxes, poor first down efficiency. And when that happens, everything falls on Hurts' shoulders. Yet Hurts wasn't the problem, not even close. The breakdown of his second-half incompletions shows a quarterback doing everything he could with what he was given. His receivers weren't open. The protection was spotty. The scheme didn't adjust. He made the smart plays, throwing the ball away, avoiding sacks, and making accurate throws when there was even a sliver of an opening. This is not a quarterback holding the team back. If anything, he's keeping them afloat. And for those pointing fingers at A.J. Brown after a quiet second half, look at the coverage. Look at the separation. Look at the pressure. This isn't a one-man issue. It's a system problem. And it's one that needs fixing fast. Because in the playoffs, when you're playing elite defenses and elite quarterbacks, you can't afford to waste quarters. You can't afford to wait until halftime to adjust. You can't have your coordinator blame bad first downs when he's the one calling the plays. One last angle to this story that can't be ignored. Charlie Hewlett. The Eagles cut their only long snapper this week, and it's gone almost completely unnoticed. Why? This guy's been solid all season. He was key in the Bills game, snapping in the rain while Jake Elliott nailed 2 critical field goals. So why move on now? Are they planning to stash him on the practice squad? Do they have someone else lined up? It's a bizarre move, especially heading into a playoff game where one botched snap could change everything. It's these small things, these decisions on the margins, that can define a playoff run. The long snapper, the backup quarterback, a rookie linebacker stepping up, a coordinator sticking to the right plan. The Eagles have the talent. The defense is peaking. The offensive stars are healthy. Now it comes down to execution, strategy, and maybe just a little luck. So here we are, Week 18, a game that might mean everything or nothing at all. The starters are sitting. The gamble has been made. The Eagles believe health matters more than momentum, more than seeding, more than matchups. Maybe they're right. Maybe it pays off, and this team rolls into the postseason fully healthy and ready to dominate. Or maybe the backups lose, the Lions win, and we're looking at a tougher path than necessary. But as always, the answers won't come until the games are played. Make sure to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss a beat, because the latest Eagles updates, playoff news, and all the exclusive breakdowns, you'll only find them right here. Click the video on screen now for your next Eagles deep dive. We're just getting started. Go Birds!